Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Bob Power, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you've joined us for our next live presentation from Troilus Gold Corporation. Before I introduce our speaker, please note to submit your questions in the question box to the left of the slides. And as a reminder, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Carolyn Arsenal, Vice President of Corporate Communications at Troilus Gold Corporation, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol CHXMF and on the TSX under the symbol TLG. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Bob, and thanks to everyone for tuning in to hear about our company. So Troilus is focused on advancing a past-producing gold and copper mine in north central Quebec towards a mine restart. And the picture you see here in the background is the larger of the two formerly mined open pits. We acquired this asset in late 2017. The project has evolved a great deal since then. And in the following slides, I'll walk you through what we've done, where we are now, and what you can expect going forward. So let's see here. Standard cautionary language, which I will let you read on your own time. What you see here is a quick snapshot of the company, and I'll elaborate on these points later in the presentation. But Troilus is a past-producing mine, as I mentioned. It operated for 14 years, from 1996 to 2010. The operator was Inmet Mining, and Inmet was a global base metal company, and during that period of operation, they were developing a copper project in Panama and in Spain. So their corporate objectives at that time were elsewhere, and as the Troilus mine ran out of reserves, they simply didn't reinvest the capital into the operation and into exploration. So the mine was shut down. And our team bought the asset privately in 2017, brought it to market in 2018, so fairly young company. Jump forward to today, we've grown the resources to 8.1 million ounces gold equivalent from the 2 million ounces we inherited. We've drilled over 220,000 meters since that resource was published, and we expect to see that grow again significantly with a resource update that we are working on and expecting to deliver later this year. We have a large land package in a great jurisdiction. We completed a PEA in 2020, which was very positive, and that was, of course, a snapshot in time from a few years ago now. We're working on a feasibility study now that we expect to complete by the end of the year. So really focusing all our efforts towards restarting this mine, which is slated to be one of the largest open pit gold mines in Canada. So where we are, Quebec. I mean, if you know mining, you have to know Quebec. It's consistently rated as one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world. It has well-established, predictable permitting process. The government is very supportive of mine development. In our case, the investment arms of the Quebec government hold about 15% of the company. Mining labor, suppliers, contractors will never be an issue in Quebec. And of course, we benefit from one of the lowest power costs in the world. I think it's just over 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So zooming in now to our property and the district that we're in, you can see that we're located just north of one of the most prolific gold producing regions in the world, the Abitibi. We are in a smaller greenstone belt to the north called the Frotette-Evans Greenstone Belt, which is essentially the same geologically. The difference being is that we are buried in about 10 meters of till. So exploration has been slow coming to the north, but that has presented us with a great opportunity. So we had accumulated quite a bit of ground in the area over the last few years, up to 1,400 square kilometers as of late last year. But in November, we sold almost 1,000 square kilometers of our claims to Sayona Mining. So they're a large 2 billion market cap Australian lithium company with projects near ours and in Val-d'Or. So we sold some of our non-core ground. It was a very accretive deal for us. We received $40 million worth of Sayona stock, which is free trading with no restrictions. And we also did a $10 million private placement at a 30% premium at the time, making them now our largest shareholder. So on this slide here, this is the ground that we kept. So the former mine site is in the north, towards the north end of the property. And we basically retained all the major regional exploration targets that we wanted, several of which have been drilled. You can see some of the results there, which are all on trend with the main deposit. Of course, our immediate focus is on the mine area. However, we do expect these targets to support our longer term growth strategy. And, many of these could potentially become satellite deposits down the road. And they're all mostly road accessible. You can see the black line running through those properties. So now, before jumping into the project, here's an overview of our capital structure. As of our last reported quarter, we have about $5 million in cash, but that does not include the transaction with Sayona that I mentioned earlier. So we have about $40 million in cash and marketable securities as of today. Our shareholder distribution, so management insiders own about 10%. Of course, Sayona is our largest shareholder at 9%. Quebec funds collectively, the investment arms of the Quebec government, own about 15%. And some of our large institutional shareholders include Franklin, Sprott, and Ruffer, just to name a few. Those would be the largest. So we're well covered by the street. All of our analysts have buy or outperform ratings on us with target prices ranging from about $250 to $450. So just high level, our team, we have a great team on the technical side, on the capital market side. We've worked together for a long time and have developed and sold projects before. And our board is also very experienced and fully independent. So zooming in here to our mine site and the main mineral zones, the former mine operated from 2 open pits. You can see a picture of those on the right side. We've drilled over 300,000 meters since acquiring the project, since 2018. And the deposit has evolved a lot since then. So 2 years ago, most notably, we made a major discovery called the Southwest Zone, which is located about 2.5 kilometers southeast from those formerly mined pits. We had drilled an initial 8,000 meters there, which alone added about 600,000 ounces to our resource. We've drilled over 150,000 meters in that zone since then, as of today, and the footprint of that zone is now very similar to Z87 and J Zone combined. So a very exciting area, very exciting development at the project, and you'll see the fruits of all that drilling in a resource and feasibility study that we're working on now. So the infrastructure that we have on site is very important. Obviously in this inflationary environment, it's incredibly valuable. We have about $350 million worth of infrastructure, which includes power lines, which are maintained by the province by Hydro-Quebec, roads, and a permitting tailings facility, which actually has capacity to accommodate our future operations. So as far as the CapEx of our project goes, all this infrastructure will certainly make that number a lot more attractive. Here's a little picture or a chart showing resource growth. So 2 years ago in September of 2020, we delivered an 8.1 million ounce resource. Significant growth from the 2 million ounce underground resource we inherited when we acquired the project. And that resource was based on about 81,000 meters of drilling. So we've drilled over 220,000 meters since then. And so you'll see that growth continue. The last 2 years have been focused on infill drilling, so bringing that level of confidence in those ounces to a reserve level, and that will serve as the basis for our feasibility study. So this is a long section with all our main zones. You can see the distribution of drilling across the different zones. So our deposit is a sub 1 gram deposit. It's a large tonnage, low grade gold system, not dissimilar to Agnico's Canadian Malartic mine. However, there's a high grade component to this deposit, and you can see some of those higher grade intersections here. What's amazing is that after many years of drilling, we're still discovering new zones of mineralization. More recently, we've been focusing our drilling on Zone X22, which you see highlighted on this slide, and also the connector zone. So these have returned the highest and most continuous grades to date at the project. We're drilling them now. On this next slide, you can see some of the highlights from Zone X22. Basically, so Z87 is the highest grade part of the ore body. A few months ago, we intersected X22 in the hanging wall of the PEA pit. And it's returned some of the highest grades at the project. So we've been drilling this new zone for the last few months. The footprint is now, as you can see, over 1 kilometer, and it's still open to the southwest and at depth. We've drilled 19 grams per ton, gold over 7, 272 over 34. You can see the highlights there, but these are significantly higher grades than average. And it's an area that's directly off of the former pit. So the impact of this zone could be really significant as far as putting more grade earlier on in the project at the same cost of mining. So we're looking forward to, we're just finishing up a drill program here with 2 drills, and our intention is to include that in our upcoming resource and feasibility study. Another new zone or extension that we recently identified is between the 2 former pits. We call it the connector zone. And we were told when we inherited the project, we were told nothing was there, but our team developed a new structural model over the last few years and, said, hey, we think there's something here, mineralization folded on top of each other. So we did a small program and of course, we hit some amazing intercepts here. So that's been also a focus in the last few months and will be included in the upcoming feasibility. This is a snapshot of our PEA. It was completed in 2020, so a few years ago. As I mentioned, we've drilled 200,000, over 200,000 meters since then. So this is really just a picture in time, but it did return excellent numbers, a long mine life of 22 years, producing nearly 250,000 ounces a year for the first 14 years, low CapEx and low operating costs, and an NPV of about $1 billion at today's gold price. So the feasibility study that we're working on will be different than this PEA in that it will be a long life open pit mine scenario only. And that's just a result of the large scale of mineralization that we've found at surface over the last 2 years of drilling. So we'll sort of shelve the underground component and leave that, for a later date. So So here's our timeline. What you can expect this year. So as I mentioned, we're just finishing up drilling the Zone X22 and connector zones. That will roll into a mineral resource estimate and a feasibility study, which you can expect by the end of the year. Provincial and federal permitting process was initiated last year. So we'll expect, some of those approvals to roll in next year. And we'll just continue to push forward and expect, to make a construction decision following the feasibility study in early 2024. So just to recap, we're in a great financial position, mostly as a result of that transaction with Sayona. Several near-term catalysts with high rebate potential. We're in a great jurisdiction, very strong shareholder base, including the Quebec government. Low operational risk due to the fact that this is a former operation. And we think a high leverage to the emerging gold and copper bull markets. I didn't touch on the fact that we have a very large copper component as well. About 15% of our, when we talk gold equivalent, about 15% of that is copper. A number of regional targets, which we will continue to work on. We're coming into the summer, so we'll be completing some regional exploration work on those targets. And of course, a team. You can have a great asset, but without the right team, it won't get anywhere. So I would say that we definitely have the right team technically to bring this project forward. And that's the story. Here's how you can get in touch with us. And please follow us on social media. We're quite active, so it's a great way to keep up with the company. But you can reach out to us directly. We're happy to hear from you and happy to talk to you. Any questions that roll in, we will answer via email. So you'll hear from us. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. And